what is the psychological difference between a really bad date and an actual hostage situation? Because, usually it just involves about $1,000, a highly orchestrated aesthetic, and like a golden spoon.
Right. And a whole lot of compliance testing.
Seriously. Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And honestly, every time we watch Love After Lockup, our own dating lives start looking surprisingly stable.
I mean, miraculously stable, honestly. We are grading our romantic endeavors on just a spectacular curve right now.
Oh, we really are. And to survive tonight's finale, which, by the way, they delightfully titled Toe Rings and Polyflings.
Such a cursed title.
Right. So cursed. But to survive it, we have come heavily prepared. We are sipping cherry cola whiskey spritzes right now.
Mandatory. Is absolutely mandatory for this level of television.
It really is. Let me tell you, this specific concoction of high fructose corn syrup, intense caffeine, and brown liquor is exactly the chemical resilience required to survive the sheer delusion we just witnessed.
Honestly, I was considering setting up an IV drip of this exact mixture just to get through the mustard scene.
Aye.
But yes, a massive toast to you, the Snark Squad, for surviving another week of absolute chaos with us. Cheers.
Cheers. Because, we really thought we had bad dating stories, right? I used to spiral over standard run-of-the-mill awkwardness.
You mean the horror of a mediocre Tuesday night hinge date?
Exactly. Like the guy who just will not stop talking about his ex-girlfriend's career in corporate marketing.
Ugh, the worst.
Or the tragedy of a man asking to strictly split a $12 bill for spinach dip down to the actual cent. I thought those were massive glaring warning signs.
Well, analytically speaking, we're conditioned to view those minor infractions as insurmountable obstacles out here in the real world.
Wow.
We hyper-analyze minor communication delays. We psychoanalyze a messy apartment. We just sit back and complain that modern romance is an exhausting nightmare landscape.
Oh.
But the baseline nightmare of regular dating is essentially a Disney movie when you factor in halfway houses, aggressive parole officers, and the logistical nightmare of state-mandated curfews.
It's a profound realization. I was sitting on my couch watching this and I had this total epiphany. A hinge date telling you he is emotionally unavailable is vastly, infinitely less alarming than a man who was released from solitary confinement yesterday and is already actively planning a wedding ceremony on a suspension bridge.
It's the psychological compression of the timeline that always fascinates me, right? The expectation that an individual can transition from a 6x8 concrete cell to, choosing a China pattern in 72 hours. It defies every known law of human psychological adjustment.
The brain simply cannot process it. And speaking of things the brain cannot process, can we just vent for a quick second on the crushing dread of regular adult responsibility this week?
Please. The devastating weight of a random Tuesday afternoon.
It is overwhelming. I spent 3 entire days agonizing over scheduling a simple dental cleaning.
Just picking up the phone is a hurdle.
Yes. The mental gymnastics required to just call and secure a 2 p.m. slot took out my entire week.
Huh.
And don't even get me started on the nightmare of grocery shopping.
Are we talking snack shopping or real shopping?
Real shopping. I thrive in the snack aisle.
Yeah.
But grocery shopping for genuine meals that require prep, heat, and complex ingredients, it drains my actual soul.
It really does, because you're simultaneously trying to figure out how to keep a single low-maintenance pothos plant alive while managing the simmering rage of resetting passwords.
Oh my God, the passwords.
You constantly forget if the bank requires a special character, a capital letter, or the literal blood of your firstborn. It degrades your sanity.
It does. It gives me this existential dread, wondering how any of you listening right now manages children, pets, careers, and hobbies all at once. I feel like I am drowning if I just have to go to the post office and the pharmacy on the same day.
The main difference, though, is that we are not simultaneously trying to integrate a felon into our smart home network.
That is very true.
Our cognitive load is high, but we just have to remember to take the recycling to the curb. We aren't, navigating institutional trauma over breakfast.
That is a very fair point. But babes, enough about our own beautifully chaotic lives. Let's get into Love After Lockup, where the couples are making decisions so wild they make our worst life choices look incredibly responsible.
So true. Where do we even begin? Because the dysfunction is layered so deeply this week.
We absolutely must begin with the golden spoon, Charlie and Hillary. I am still physically unwell from this entire sequence of events.
Let's quickly set the stage and remind everyone of the baseline dynamic here, because it informs the pathology of literally everything that follows.
Yes, please do.
Charlie was not an inmate. Charlie was the boss at the Department of Corrections. He was an authority figure who lost his entire career over his relationship with Hillary while she was incarcerated.
Which is already a walking ethical violation, a massive conflict of interest.
A catastrophic conflict of interest. And what we are witnessing now that she is released is this extreme power dynamic revealing its incredibly ugly face.
It is so dark.
Right, because he sacrificed his prestigious career for her, and in his mind, she now owes him perpetual compliance. He views her not as a partner, but as an investment that must yield a specific return.
Compliance and, like, extreme aesthetic perfection. Let's unpack this restaurant ambush. So they sit down to dinner, and he immediately holds it over her head that he has already spent $1,000 on her.
The itemized receipt of conditional love.
Exactly. He starts listing the inventory, jewelry, clothes, the works, and then he just whips out a physical, shimmering golden spoon.
A tangible prop meant to signify her newly minted status.
And he demands she eat her noodles with it. He tells her it signifies that she has been upgraded from silver to gold by associating with him. She just wants to use a regular functional restaurant fork to eat her food, and he is deeply personally offended.
Well, because it was never about the spoon. The spoon is a mechanism of coercive control. It is a psychological compliance test.
Wow, yes.
When she refuses the spoon, look closely at his reaction. His demeanor completely darkens. He isn't just disappointed that his romantic gesture fell flat. He is perturbed that his direct command was disobeyed. And then he pivots to some of the most horrifying commentary we have seen all season.
I was screaming at my television screen. He casually comments on the fact that she gained 20 pounds while in prison. She has been out of the facility for a matter of hours.
Hours. Literally hours.
And he's already lecturing her about how she needs to get back to her model weight.
And he didn't stop at the critique. He immediately moved to dictate her diet. When she mentioned she was getting full and wanted to save the rest of her noodles for a midnight snack, he instantly vetoed it.
It was chilling.
He explicitly stated a midnight snack wouldn't align with her diet plans. He is actively restricting her food intake on day one of her freedom. It's a classic isolation tactic. You break down the self-esteem so the victim feels entirely dependent on the abuser's validation.
My heart just shattered for her in that moment. You could practically see the light go out in her eyes. And it wasn't just the food restriction. It was the outfit of misery.
Oh, the aesthetic nightmare.
Yes, he forces her to wear this heavy fur coat, oversized sunglasses, and a severely tight dress paired with brand new, stiff cowboy boots. Do you know what unbroken-in cowboy boots feel like on bare feet?
I imagine it feels akin to walking in wooden clogs lined with shattered glass.
Worse. She is sweating. She explicitly tells him she is overheating, but he insists she keep the heavy fur coat on because he demands the look. He even calls her his hooker at one point, which was, certainly a choice of words.
A deeply degrading choice, masquerading as playful banter in his warped reality. He's entirely focused on the visual presentation.
Then, he forces her to undertake this excruciating trek across the Scissortail Bridge. On an active highway, her heels are actively bleeding.
Just complete physical distress.
Her stockings are rolling down her legs, completely defeating the purpose of the glamorous aesthetic. Her stomach is severely upset because her body isn't accustomed to rich, heavy restaurant food after years of consuming bland prison trays. She is in visible, acute physical agony.
And his empathy levels remain at absolute zero. He is completely indifferent to her physical suffering because it interferes with his meticulously curated production.
He just didn't care at all.
He had a vision for this proposal, and her bleeding heels were simply an inconvenient detail he chose to ignore. He prioritizes his aesthetic fantasy over her fundamental physical comfort.
Which leads us to the proposal itself. The unadulterated embarrassment of this man making her take off her heavy boot and her sweaty sock right there on the public bridge in front of God, the production crew, and passing traffic, just to slide a piece of jewelry onto her toe.
A toe ring.
A toe ring. On an unpedicured foot. She just got out of a correctional facility. She hasn't seen a pumice stone or a foot file in years.
It is the ultimate display of situational blindness. It is exactly like asking someone to perform a TED Talk while they are actively passing a kidney stone.
This is the perfect analogy.
You are forcing a romantic, highly photographed milestone onto someone who is in active discomfort, overstimulated, and desperately just wants a quiet moment to decompress.
She looked at the toe ring and literally mumbled, "I thought that was going to be it." Thank goodness he eventually pulled out a traditional ring for her finger, but the damage was done. And the underlying tragedy compounding all of this is her mother.
The ghosting.
Yes. Hillary's mom has completely ghosted her. She hung up on her a year ago, ignored all her letters, simply because she was deeply embarrassed that her daughter went to prison.
Which leaves Hillary incredibly vulnerable. When a person lacks a familial support system, the controlling dynamic Charlie is establishing becomes exponentially more dangerous. He knows she has nowhere else to go. He is monopolizing her reality.
Or is he? Because the producers gave us that glorious little secret reveal at the end of the segment.
The ex-husband.
Yes. Despite saying yes to the toe ring and the finger ring and playing the part of the grateful rescue princess, Hillary is secretly still communicating with her ex-husband. She hasn't told Charlie a single thing about it.
Oh, the second Charlie discovers she is maintaining communication with another man, especially an ex-husband, that golden spoon is going to be snapped in half.
Absolutely destroyed.
He requires total, unflinching ownership. The fact that she is keeping this secret indicates she inherently knows she needs an escape hatch. Her survival instincts are still functioning.
Run, Hillary, run! Straight to the ex-husband. I don't care if the ex-husband lives in a swamp. It has to be better than a man policing your noodle intake.
Well, while Charlie weaponizes his finances and aesthetics to control Hillary's physical reality, our next couple represents the exact opposite end of the dysfunction spectrum. We're looking at a man who weaponizes spirituality to avoid existing in reality whatsoever.
Ugh.
Let's examine Rich and Felicia, the gym ambush and the universe defense.
This entire sequence was pure, unadulterated clown behavior. Felicia has been ghosted by Rich for 2 solid weeks.
Ghosted, just totally MIA.
Granted, he was sitting in a jail cell for one of those weeks, which, complicates the communication timeline. But still, she decides the most rational course of action is to ambush him. Not at his house, not at a coffee shop, but at his very public Muay Thai gym.
And she does not initiate this ambush alone. She brings a small, highly agitated militia. She brings her aunt, she brings her manager, Sully, and crucially, she brings Cousin Haley.
We have to spend time on Cousin Haley. We just have to. It was the peak reality television moment of the year. Haley aggressively takes off her sneakers in the gym parking lot because she claims she needs better grip on the asphalt to fistfight this man.
It completely defies the laws of physics. As Haley's own mother pointed out in a confessional later, the rubber soles of the sneakers are the grip.
I was crying laughing.
You do not engage in hand-to-hand combat in cotton socks on Texas pavement. But stepping back and viewing this analytically, the optics of this scene are incredibly fraught. You have Felicia's entire extended family aggressively surrounding and confronting a black man outside a business in Texas.
I was holding my breath. Rich walks out, entirely blindsided by this screaming mob, and he attempts to diffuse the hostility by explaining his absence. He states he was arrested for a marijuana charge, which he directly categorized as driving while black.
Right.
And despite him trying to explain a genuinely traumatic interaction with law enforcement, Felicia's family continues screaming at him.
It is a highly volatile, escalating situation. Felicia eventually recognizes the danger and instructs everyone to stand down, mostly because Rich surprisingly agrees to go on a highly awkward one-on-one date to explain the gaps in his story.
Which transports us to the Italian restaurant of lies. They sit down, they order wine, he gets the heavy eggplant parmesan, she gets the grilled salmon, but Felicia refuses to touch her food.
Operating entirely on adrenaline.
Exactly. Adrenaline and suspicion. She wants answers about this mysterious marriage he supposedly still has.
And Rich delivers what I am officially categorizing as the universe defense. It is a masterclass in avoidant attachment. He refuses to give her a single, concrete, chronological answer about their future or his past.
Not one straight answer.
He claims that he shut the world out to handle his internal business, that his divorce is a closed chapter he doesn't want to discuss, and that they simply need to let the universe dictate their path forward.
It is the most evasive, non-committal, deeply frustrating nonsense I have ever heard. I'm going with the universe. Sir, you signed a contract to be on a reality dating television show.
The universe didn't sign the NDA.
Right. The universe does not care about your vibes. The universe wants to see the stamped court receipts.
And he finally provides those receipts. But crucially, he provides them to the production crew during a talking head interview, not to Felicia. At the very end of the episode, he flashes the official paperwork proving his divorce was actually finalized 5 entire months before Felicia even got out of prison.
Which makes him a massive, infuriating hypocrite. He had the proof in his possession.
The whole time.
He could have just showed her the papers at the Italian restaurant, cleared his name, and ended the family drama right then and there. But he chose to withhold the information to maintain some weird upper hand.
The hypocrisy is staggering, but honestly, the dysfunction is completely mutual.
Oh, totally. Because honestly, his withholding didn't even matter.
Yeah.
Because Felicia played him like a fiddle, I shrieked at the ending text update.
Too brutal.
We see Felicia in the passenger seat of a car, producing these dramatic, tearless sobs about how much she wanted a future with Rich, how she envisioned waking up next to him and having breakfast in bed.
Fake crying at its finest.
Cut to the black screen, and the white text reveal she is already back together with her ex-boyfriend.
The infamous Sicilian that her father explicitly approves of. And this particular ex-boyfriend happens to be currently incarcerated and does not get released until late 2026.
She used Rich. She used him as a complete storyline filler. She needed a warm body to film with and collect a check until her actual prison boyfriend finishes his sentence. She never had any genuine intention of building a life with Rich.
It was a transactional relationship built entirely on geographical convenience and television airtime. Both of them were performing for the cameras while actively hiding their reality from each other.
Just incredible levels of deception. But speaking of deception and trauma, let's transition to Cyrus and Dia. Cigars, chickens, and parole violation.
Oh, boy.
If Rich and Felicia were avoiding reality, Cyrus is currently being crushed by it.
Let's clearly establish the timeline here, because the psychological context is critical. Cyrus has been out of the state penitentiary for exactly 3 days. This is day 3 of his reintegration into society.
And his nervous system is entirely fried. He moves into Dia's place, which he somewhat disparagingly refers to as a country trailer park filled with hicks and rogue livestock. The man wakes up, looks at the chickens wandering around the front yard, and seriously threatens to turn them into fried chicken because they're making too much ambient noise.
He is experiencing massive, debilitating sensory overload. Prisons are environments of extreme deprivation, but they are also environments of rigid, predictable routine.
Right.
Suddenly, he is thrust into an unstructured environment with unfamiliar people, unpredictable animal noises, and a complete lack of spatial boundaries. But what is truly destabilizing him isn't the poultry, it's Dia's relentless obsession with Jaden.
The Jaden dynamic is so incredibly toxic. For context, Jaden is Cyrus's former cellmate. Jaden is also Dia's former romantic interest. And Dia absolutely refuses to utilize the block button on Facebook Messenger.
She won't do it.
She constantly complains that Jaden keeps messaging her, but she actively chooses to keep the line of communication wide open.
Because Dia feeds on triangulation. Triangulation is a manipulation tactic where a person brings a third party into a dynamic to create rivalry, manufacture jealousy, and ultimately center themselves as the highly desired prize. It's so transparent.
She desperately wants Cyrus to feel insecure and jealous. She wants Jaden to remain obsessed with her. It is a chaotic mechanism to ensure she never feels abandoned. So Cyrus, operating under this manufactured threat and thinking he needs to be the alpha protector, goes to a local park to meet Jaden face to face. And this scene blew my mind because Jaden acts super chill.
He was entirely unbothered.
I was expecting a brawl, and instead we got a calm mediation. Jaden thoroughly exposes Dia's entire narrative. He looks at Cyrus and says, "Bro, I only reached out to her to figure out how to reconnect with you. You're my brother. Dia is a compulsive liar."
Just completely dismantled her story.
Yes, Jaden completely dismantles Dia's claims of dirty macking, which, is prison slang for talking trash about someone to steal their partner. Jaden swears he never tried to undermine Cyrus.
And when Cyrus returns to the trailer, the atmospheric energy is instantly thick with tension. You can physically see the cognitive gears turning in his head. He realizes he's been manipulated. He realizes his partner is actively trying to pit him against a man he considered family.
And then we get the heartbreaking argument regarding the affection deficit. Dia is whining, and I mean whining, that Cyrus won't cuddle her on the couch.
Well, he's visibly exhausted.
Right. She complains that his breath constantly smells like cheap cigars, which allegedly triggers her because it reminds her of her toxic ex-husband. She looks at Cyrus and says, "I didn't want to kiss my ex-husband, and now I don't want to kiss you." What an incredibly cruel thing to say to a partner.
The cruelty lies in the constant overt comparisons. She continually compares Cyrus's lack of immediate, overwhelming physical intimacy to Jaden's supposedly overbearing affection.
It's so manipulative.
She is demanding that a man who has been locked in a high-security cage for years instantly perform the role of a hyper-affectionate rom-com lead on his 3rd day of freedom. It demonstrates a complete lack of empathy for his institutional trauma.
And Cyrus counters with the most grounded, devastating logic of the entire season. He looks at her, exhausted, and says, I've been in a cell for years. Sometimes I just want to sleep on the floor.
That was profound.
I felt that in the depths of my soul. He is overstimulated, he is profoundly traumatized by the prison system, and he is seeking the only grounding mechanism he knows, the hard floor.
And to his credit, Cyrus makes a highly analytical, rational choice in that chaotic environment. He possesses the engagement ring his mother purchased for him, and he actively decides not to propose.
Thank goodness.
He correctly diagnoses the instability of the relationship and chooses to withhold the commitment.
I was practically cheering. My heart was breaking for Dia's young children who were just sitting there having to witness all this emotional volatility in their own living room. I thought, okay, Cyrus is going to establish boundaries.
But the relief was entirely short-lived.
So short-lived. Because the producers hit us with that dark update before the credits rolled.
The postscript was exceptionally grim.
Cyrus was arrested again for major parole violations involving illegal weapons and narcotics. He completely threw away his hard-won freedom. And yet, beautifully, tragically delusional to the bitter end, Dia is vowing to wait for him while he serves this new sentence.
It is a textbook tragic cycle. He could not physiologically or psychologically adjust to the chaos of the country trailer park, and he inevitably reverted to the only illicit environment he felt he understood.
Which ultimately cost him his liberty.
The tragedy is that the institution feels safer to him than Dia's living room.
Okay, take a deep breath. Take a massive sip of your cherry cola spritz. Because we are transitioning from the tragic to the absurd. We are diving into the sequence that is quite possibly the greatest reality television moment of the decade.
I know exactly where we're going.
Damon, Bonita, and Gigi. The poly-fling implosion.
The sheer audacity, the breathtaking hubris of this man's strategic plan needs to be studied by behavioral scientists in a secure laboratory.
Let's meticulously set the scene. Damon, who also goes by Dean or Damon, depending entirely on which woman he is actively lying to, genuinely believed he was going to walk into a local bar, sit down at a high-top table with his devoted fiancée of 8 years, Bonita,
Right.
and his younger side piece, Gigi, and successfully convince them both to enter a harmonious polyamorous relationship with him right there over happy hour drinks.
Analytically speaking, this is a masterclass in malignant narcissism and catastrophic miscalculation. He strides into the bar, instantly realizes these two women have already formed an alliance and have been vigorously comparing notes.
They were ready for it.
And his immediate reflex is to play the victim. He whines that they are tag-teaming him. He orchestrated this entire bizarre summit, but the moment they hold him accountable for his overlapping timelines, his ego shuts down and he deflects blame.
And the quotes, the unhinged quotes this man provided. He arrogantly looks at these two gorgeous, enraged women and says, "It's a woman's world, but there are 10 women to every man." Who says that?
It's astounding.
Who mathematically tells two women that he's been deceiving for years, that they are easily replaceable statistics based on a fabricated census report.
Someone whose narcissistic supply has completely detached from empirical reality. He genuinely believed his intrinsic value was so astronomically high that these women would accept public humiliation and a shared schedule just to retain a fraction of his time.
But Bonita was not having a single second of it. Bonita gave us the bam, bam, boom flex, and I am formally requesting it be inducted into the Reality TV Hall of Fame.
It was iconic.
She stands up in the middle of this crowded bar, does a full dramatic twirl, points directly to her body and her face, and reminds this man exactly what he is fumbling. She has the shape, she has the face, she has the unwavering loyalty. Bam, bam, boom.
It was an iconic reclamation of power, and it served as the perfect preamble to the true peak moment of the episode.
The mustard attack. Bonita casually reaches across the table, grabs a yellow French's mustard squeeze bottle, and just aggressively squirts a thick line of condiment all over the back of Damon's head, right into his freshly braided hair.
And his reaction is a study in shock. He doesn't yell. He is entirely neutralized by the sheer disrespect of the condiment.
He was speechless.
He just quietly stammers, "You just sprayed my braids," and wanders off to the men's bathroom to attempt to wipe it out with a thin, non-absorbent bar napkin.
The profound indignity of trying to extract bright yellow mustard from tight braids using a one-ply tissue. I was cackling. But the best part, the absolute triumph of this entire saga, is the alliance. Damon wanted them to fight each other.
He wanted a spectacle.
He wanted a messy, stereotypical catfight over him to inflate his ego. Instead, Bonita and Gigi joined forces.
They applied basic logistics and destroyed his narrative. They realized that Damon literally staged his prison release pickups on 2 entirely different days to accommodate his lies.
It's so sociopathic.
He manipulated Gigi into picking him up from the facility on October 20th, spent the night with her, and then somehow orchestrated a scenario where he acted like he was just being released on October 21st so Bonita could pick him up.
The exhausting logistical dedication required to fake your own release day twice just to cheat on your loyal fiancé. It is diabolical. They realize they've both been intensely, methodically gaslit. And Bonita, realizing the depth of the betrayal, decides to enact the ultimate troll revenge.
She strikes him right at the core of his masculinity and ego.
She flirts with Gigi.
Right.
Right in front of his mustard-stained face. Gigi is looking at Bonita like, wow, you have really seductive eyes. And then they lean across the table and kiss each other multiple times while Damon is sitting right there.
They prove to him that he holds zero power in this dynamic. He is entirely superfluous to their connection. It completely emasculates his grand polyamorous fantasy. He desperately wanted to be the sun at the center of their solar system, and they effortlessly made him entirely irrelevant. He gets so infuriated by his lack of control that he storms out of his own intervention.
And what does he do next? He goes out to his car with mustard still actively crusting on his scalp and whines to his mother on speakerphone. And his mother, the only voice of reason in his life, is just like, I warned you this would fail.
She knew.
And then, before the engine is even warm, before he has even processed the loss of an 8-year relationship, he pulls up his contacts and immediately calls another woman.
Because the narcissistic supply must be maintained at all costs, he cannot sit with the rejection. The text updates show that Damon and Bonita are strictly co-parenting their daughter, Dior, but Damon is still hopelessly out in the dating pool seeking a poly lifestyle. He clearly lacks the emotional intelligence to manage.
A lifestyle he cannot manage, afford, or schedule. Which brings us to the final segment of our recap, the rapid-fire updates of our other spectacular disasters.
We must briefly address Letitia.
Letitia got 15 years in federal prison for fraud. 15 years. She has to serve at least half of that sentence before she is eligible for release, and this is all regarding her deeply fraudulent tax preparation business.
Which is astounding, analytically speaking, considering earlier in the season, she was aggressively trying to put her partner in jail while simultaneously naming him the president of her fraudulent company to shield herself.
Make it make sense.
The sheer lack of legal foresight is staggering. She thought she could outsmart the federal government with a fake LLC.
Then we have Michael and Kaylee. Shocking absolutely no one who possesses working eyes. They divorced immediately after filming Wrapped. They don't even speak to each other anymore.
Shocker.
Kaylee went to a parlor and got her massive, degrading property of Michael neck tattoo covered up with some lovely sunflowers. And Michael bought a house and is quietly working in construction.
A rare instance of actual post-filming productivity and boundary setting. The sunflowers are a massive upgrade from being branded like livestock.
Then there's Kirsten, Brady, and Core. Brady is somehow still stuck in the halfway house, making zero progress. And Corey, the ex-fiancé, is still the one paying for his life and looking after his twin daughters, Hunter and Remington.
Unbelievable.
Kirsten is just, hovering in the background, providing nothing.
The financial and emotional burden always inevitably falls to the competent ex-partner. Corey is the collateral damage of Brady's inability to launch.
And finally, Carrington and Zay. Carrington claims she is dating online and exploring her options, but she explicitly states she is keeping the door open for Zay, who doesn't even get out of prison until September 2026.
I cannot stress this enough. Close the door, board up the windows, change the locks, relocate to an undisclosed zip code. You do not pause your 20s to wait for a man who is currently scheduled for release in the next presidential term.
Seriously, the delusion is a renewable resource with these people. Okay, I need a breath. I need another sip of this spritz because it is time to transition into segment 1. Red flag of the week.
The premise here is simple. We isolate and choose the single biggest warning sign from the entire episode, the specific moment that should have had emergency sirens blaring and caution tape wrapping around the television screen.
I am coming in incredibly hot on this one, Jay. My red flag of the week is Charlie. Without hesitation. Specifically, making Hillary eat with a literal golden spoon, and then audaciously commenting on her 20-pound weight gain mere hours after her release from prison. It made me physically yell at my TV.
It is a strong contender. but I am going to respectfully push back on that.
Oh, really?
Yes. I argue that the most glaring red flag is Damon. Sitting at that high-top table, confidently telling two beautiful women that he has been actively deceiving for years that there are 10 women to every man, all while casually wiping French's mustard out of his freshly braided hair with a napkin. The lack of self-awareness is terrifying.
No, wait, I have to vigorously push back there. Damon is a clown, yes. He is a deeply unserious person, but Charlie is genuinely, actively dangerous.
I hear you, but
Damon got mustard in his hair and his feelings hurt. Charlie is actively, methodically isolating a vulnerable woman who has nowhere else to go. The power dynamic with Charlie is way darker. Damon's women teamed up and laughed at him. Hillary doesn't have anyone to team up with.
you are right that Charlie's behavior stems from a terrifying need for coercive control. He thrives on the imbalance of power. He wants a hostage, not a wife.
Exactly.
But we cannot discount Damon's behavior, which stems from blinding, unadulterated delusion. Damon actually believed his own logic. He believed his worth was so astronomically high that these women would accept public humiliation. Charlie knows what he is doing is manipulative. I genuinely think Damon believes he is a prize. It is a different flavor of toxicity, but equally alarming because Damon has zero tether to reality.
Okay, I see your point. They are both awful, but entirely different fonts. Charlie is a thriller villain, and Damon is a dark comedy villain. If Hillary was my best friend in the group chat, I wouldn't even text her. I would physically drive my car to that scissortail bridge, throw that golden spoon directly into the river below, grab her by her unpedicured toe, and drag her into an Uber Black.
A swift extraction. And if Bonita was your friend?
Oh, I wouldn't need to do a single thing for Bonita. Bonita had the mustard. Bonita handled her business. I would just buy her a refill on her drink and pay her tab.
Moving forward to segment 2, love or parole, we are going to categorically define each major couple's relationship. The categories are genuine love, trauma bonding, convenience, or delusion with matching outfits.
Okay, let's kick this off with Charlie and Hillary.
This dynamic is unequivocally delusion with matching outfits.
Totally. They are completely cosplaying and aesthetic for the cameras. Charlie wants to play the wealthy, benevolent savior who rescues the damaged woman, and Hillary desperately wanted someone to put commissary money on her books so she could survive her sentence.
It's purely transactional.
You do not force a toe ring onto an unpedicured foot on a noisy highway bridge if you are experiencing genuine empathetic love. You do it because you're directing a photo shoot.
Next up on the docket, Rich and Felicia.
This one is pure, unadulterated convenience.
Precisely. Felicia urgently needed a storyline filler. She needed a secondary character to film scenes with until her actual father-approved Sicilian ex-boyfriend got out of his respective prison in 2026.
That's your setup.
Rich was essentially an unpaid extra sitting in Felicia's waiting room. The exact second his paperwork excuse dried up and he was no longer useful to her narrative, she discarded him.
What about Cyrus and Dia?
This is the textbook clinical definition of trauma bonding.
It is so incredibly dark. Dia is utilizing Cyrus entirely as a pawn to make Jason jealous. She's aggressively triangulating them to feed her own desperate need for attention and validation.
It's a closed loop of dysfunction.
And Cyrus, on the flip side, is using Dia for a free place to crash because he has nowhere else to go post-release. They are using each other until the sensory overload of the country chickens and her constant nagging comparisons literally drive him to violate his parole and flee back to the streets. It is a bond forged entirely in mutual dysfunction and lack of options.
Which leaves us with the fractured throuple, Damon, Bonita, and Gigi.
This one is delusion, but strictly on Damon's part. I actually firmly believe Bonita had genuine love for this man.
She really did.
She held him down for 8 years. She raised his child. She remained fiercely loyal while he was locked away. But Damon took all of that genuine, rare love and threw it directly into the garbage for a poorly executed polyamorous fantasy.
He traded a devoted ride-or-die partner for a public mustard shower. It is a classic catastrophic blunder driven by ego.
All right, babes, welcome to segment 3. The group chat would never allow this. The premise is simple. Imagine if these cast members actually communicated with their friends and told them what they were about to do before the camera started rolling.
The interventions would be swift, brutal, and merciless.
Let's role play this out. Scenario 1. Hillary texts her girls in the group chat. She types, "Hey, Daves, I just got out. Charlie's making me walk across a freeway bridge in unbroken-in cowboy boots to put a piece of jewelry on my toe."
The reaction from the group chat would be immediate, unmitigated chaos. I am imagining a flurry of panicked voice notes. Hillary, do not take that boot off in public. Hillary, I am tracking your location and ordering an Uber Black right now.
Yes. Hillary, if you let that man put a ring on your unpumised foot on national television, I am calling the authorities and reporting a hostage situation.
They would have staged a vehicular kidnapping just to save her from the eternal embarrassment of the footage.
Okay, scenario 2. Cousin Haley texts the family group chat right before the gym ambush. Hey, y'all, pulling up to Rich's gym. I'm taking my sneakers off in the parking lot so I have better grip on the asphalt to fight him.
The family group chat would be entirely in all caps. Haley, put your Air Force Ones back on your feet. Haley, you are going to contract tetanus. Haley, the science of friction does not work that way.
Haley, we are absolutely not paying your emergency room copay when you step on a rusty nail outside a martial arts studio. It's just too good. The lack of peer review in these people's lives is astounding.
Finally, we arrive at segment 4, next episode predictions. Or, in this specific case, projecting the chaos forward into the inevitable life after Lockup spin-off season.
We have to predict who is going to explode next. For me, without a shadow of a doubt, it is Charlie and Hillary.
The tension there is entirely unsustainable.
The ticking time bomb is the secret ex-husband. The second Charlie, with all his deep-seated control issues, his dietary restrictions, and his golden spoons, finds out that Hillary has been secretly messaging her ex the entire time. He is going to completely lose his mind.
Oh, definitely.
That golden spoon is getting thrown directly out of a moving vehicle into oncoming traffic. The aesthetic facade will crumble instantly.
What about the next shocking secret to be revealed?
I firmly believe, down to my bones, that Damon actually has a third fiancé hidden in another zip code.
That tracks.
There is simply no way a man who coordinates the logistics to stage 2 different prison release pickups only has 2 women on the roster. There is a third pickup on October 22nd that we just don't know about yet.
Analytically, the math heavily supports that theory. A narcissist always has backup supply. Now, who is most likely to disappear into the night with someone else's money?
Zay. As soon as Carrington lets him step through that theoretical open door in September 2026, her savings account is going to miraculously hit 0, and Zay will be in the wind. She is funding a ghost.
And which relationship actually possesses a tiny, microscopic chance of surviving the off-season?
Honestly, Bonita and Gigi as besties.
I agree completely.
The romantic throuple is dead and buried under a mountain of French's yellow mustard. But that female friendship, the unique trauma bond of getting played by the exact same arrogant loser, they might actually survive and thrive together.
I could easily see them starting a highly successful podcast together. And lastly, give me one completely ridiculous prediction that somehow feels entirely possible in this universe.
Cousin Haley shows up to the Life After Lockup reunion stage completely barefoot to finish what she started with Rich in that gym parking lot.
Honestly, I would put money on it. She is actively building her soul calluses as we speak.
I am exhausted, my cherry cola spritz is entirely empty, and my resting heart rate is elevated. Snark Squad, I need to hear from you. We need to know, which couple are you actually rooting for, if any? Is there a single shred of hope anywhere in this cast? Or are we just watching a slow-motion car crash?
And we need your definitive verdict. What was your biggest red flag of the episode? Was it the golden spoon and the body shaming, the mustard-soaked narcissism, or the sensory overload of the trailer park chickens?
And seriously, what's the wildest, most unhinged dating story you've ever heard from a friend? Drop it in the comments, send us a message, because we desperately need to feel better about our own choices today.
Thank you for surviving this finale with us. Your dedication to the chaos is appreciated.
Remember to subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and please share this show with another reality TV-loving babe who desperately needs to feel better about their own life choices.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Stay safe, trust your instincts, and we'll see you on the snark side.